Okay, this one will be about the reason why medical directed studies will fail always. Why? Because they don't think you have the intellectual competence to understand the eye as a dynamic system starting at birth. And this is because they make all normal eyes defective by two words, hyperopia and myopia. And that those words, there is no normal eye. They've cut off the whole discussion by assuming that the completely normal eye is defective at birth because it has a positive refractive state when it's not defective. It has 20/20. It's that type of warping of the English language, the meaning of words, that destroys any possibility of any prevention for any reason except maybe their own children, where they'll start prevention while the kid has 20/40. I don't know. But I have great fear of an optometrist prescribing a minus lens for me or anyone, because even they say that once you put a kid in a minus, that's it. His vision is over, done, kaput. Don't ask for any help from me. You wear the minus lens, it's over. Now, there are dedicated medical people, but they're all think medical. And even dedicated medical people doesn't work. They don't think the person, scientist, has the engineering competence to make accurate measurements, which is the reason I do it myself. And fortunately, as per an example, is Kaiser Villicari. I posted this before. Learn to understand and prevent myopia. Easy to say that. Well, I'm going to go out and prevent. You're not going to do that because a person will not accept doing it. An engineer would at 20/40 if he makes his own refractive state measurements and he understands that at birth all eyes are dynamic control systems, not defective. Yet that sort of thinking never enters their mind, but that's the only type of thinking that could achieve prevention for pilots who are personally measuring their refractive state at minus half diopter. So Kaiser Villicari writes these books, and with respect, ocular accommodation strain. In control systems, there's no strain. And panacea, or cure all, same thing. She publishes all these studies, but has never understood that at birth, the primate data showed that all eyes are continuously controlling their refractive state to their average of accommodation when actually measured with a retinoscope. So all the words of medicine are wrong because of an easy assumption. Just describe all eyes as defective, hyperopia, myopia, the completely normal eye with positive or negative refractive states. As long as that language, choice of words is used, there can't be any intelligent discussion about prevention for anyone. Now, I agree that it's going to take a brilliant engineer to really figure this out and make the choice for prevention. But if the study is run, it's got to be run by the engineer himself, using the classic Snellen and test lenses. And it takes great resolve. My book, I partially discusses this. But of course, nobody reads my book, which is okay. But I do agree with the entire medical profession that once you put a kid a minus lens, his vision is permanently gone. And that's what Kaiserville doesn't understand that issue. So when you use the word understand and prevent myopia, you've got to prevent it when you're at 20/40 to 20/16. If you don't do it then, it will never get done. So fortunately, after cataract surgery, I was on the order of 20/16. Why do you have you verify 2040, 2060? Because that's the DMV requirement, Department of Motor Vehicles requirement. It's very reasonable. Doesn't mean your eyes are defective. It means they have a negative refractive state. But that's why you use pinholes, and that's why you're an expert, and that you realize that it means long-term plus wear. Until not only get to 22 at 20, but better than 2020. You measure your refractive state as positive. And this is not an optometrist measurement, nor a medical measurement, since you do it objectively yourself. So this was, and poor Rafelson had no chance. He had an idea, but because of the ignorance of public, prevention's totally impossible in optometry. Only Rupa Wong, who looks at the massive numbers of myopia people where she's forced to use a minus lens on them, changes everything. And so she starts prevention when her kid's refractive state is positive. They have 20/20, and they could read the 20/20 line through a plus half diopter lens. Her method of measurement is different than mine. Mine's classic and standard. And of course, I make the measurements. So for the past, once I got to 2060, I think my eyes are sophisticated dynamic control systems. So it's only a matter of using a plus lens. When I sit down to read, 2.5, I'll read it at 20 inches, 10 inches. And because of my habit, I'll be wearing I can read the cell phone easily with a 2 diopter lens, but I'll put 2 lenses together. That sounds strange. Well, it's your choice. They're my eyes, not your eyes. So I do these videos for Rafelson's memory, experience, and impossible effort, and Kaiser Villicari, but they use the word myopia. And if you try to run a scientific study, the medical person would not understand what the hell you're talking about. I don't even ask for money, funding. All doctoral students know you have to get funding. You write a proposal to the National Eye Institute, and then get funded, and then you can run your study. And that's basically how Francis Young did it. Great guy, severely nearsighted, but he has to work in the context of an optometrist in his office. So I don't know what you make of these videos. In a way, I can't care because it's got to be you. So yes, I could see an engineering scientific study conducted by engineers making their own refractive state measurements to slowly go from 2050 to 2030, which passes all DMV tests. But wearing the plus would have to be continued as long as you're not 20/20. Now there's be a little flexibility there, but you're carrying an engineering scientific function, not a medical function. But that's the only study would ever have any possibility of success. Continued 20/20 because you know how to do it and you actually make measurements yourself. And that cannot be done by an optometrist. He could help his own children with prevention when they're 20/20 by doing what Rafelson did with his own children. Also found Rafelson's autobiography online. And I'll post that site, very interesting. Rafelson had a concept and an ignorant public, which means he had an impossible situation. But he thought a great deal of it. So I don't know what you want in your life. I won't even attempt to find out. But the person, in my mind, has to be a control system engineer who designs control systems and realize that the sweeping words hemetropia, hypermetropia, and myopia are refractive states of the fundamental eye and are not defective. If your mind warps those words, it's not worth of any further discussion. Taking responsibility for yourself. I don't know what an engineer would do, electrical. I think he should understand the concept while he's at 2040. But if he wanted to be part of a team, he would have to lead that team. And I don't see any other way to do it. And I refuse to be a critic of medical people because they can't do anything about it. And more seriously, they're not going to ever do anything about it because they get so many things wrong intellectually. And that's a scientific argument, not a medical argument. So add your own commentary, and thank you.